After is boring. After is boring.
After is boring.
After is boring.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Director in the Making, aka me, Veronica, and today we are watching the movie After. So if you didn't hear me, After is boring. What I'm talking about is the 2019 movie After, which started off as a One Direction mix with 50 Shades of Grey aspects stuff. Why am I doing this? Fanfic, then turned into a 5-part book series, and now turned into 2 movies. Today, for the sake of my own sanity, we are going to be just talking about the first movie After and only sticking with that. If you haven't heard of this movie, or even the books or the fanfiction yet, I believe you're sleeping under a rock, because it's been everywhere and everyone's been talking about it. Honestly, I am very late to the party. I've been thinking about making like a movie type rant series on this channel, and I figured since we're close to Valentine's Day, might as well do a love story. Love story. Everyone has been talking about this movie, mostly because of the very, very strong opinions everybody has about this movie. There are people who downright hate it, and people who downright love it. Honestly, I don't really like the movie. So, disclaimer, this entire video is going to be about my opinion. If you like the movie, great, good for you. It's something that entertains you and you find joy in it, great. You're not harming anyone. It's just a movie. If you don't like it, then you'll probably agree with some of the things that I'm going to say. But yeah, all of this is just my opinion. If you don't like it, just click out of my video. It's simple as that. I forgot to say, do you guys like my glasses? They're blue light glasses. I don't actually need them, but I stare at a screen a lot. So, don't really want to lose my eyesight. But I think they make me look, a bit more studious and smart. The one reason why I found this movie to be boring is that the dialogue really doesn't feel natural. In a book, you are supposed to pretty much write everything the character's thinking, describing everything down to a T. So that's more tell. While in movies, it's more show than tell. So everything must be visual. But there's a lot of times where you have 2 characters and they're just talking when they're walking and they're just explaining everything. When you could have had some of those things they were explaining be put into actions and have your audience connect that. It kind of insults your audience a little because you don't think your audience can connect those dots together. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think they're smart enough to realize, oh, if point A and point B are together, they equal C. Like, it just... Speaking of things that didn't seem natural, there was a lot of, not logical events that happened before Tessa and Harding go to the lake. Before he drives her into the woods, which was kind of sketchy. They're in the cafe together, and he's trying to mend. I get it, he's trying to be nice and be like, we got off on the wrong foot, let's patch this up, I want to start over. Hi, how you doing? And she pretty much didn't want anything to do with him, because at that moment, she hated him. Which makes sense. I honestly would too. I didn't like his character at all. So, she then proceeds to tell him that, look, I think it's better if we keep our distance from each other. I don't really want to hang out with you. Which he immediately does a little funny thing where he, steps away from her. That was good. Honestly, that was good. It shows him more of his character. And that he can be funny. Then, he's like, alright, I respect that. And he leaves and he goes and sits down. And then she goes to leave. She then, before leaving the door, stops, turns around, they have a staring moment, and then she just decides to go with him into the woods, where she has no idea where they're going. He could, for all she knows, be murdering her in the woods. What changed? What did they have some sort of telekinesis, telepathic, I don't know, signal coming to each other's heads? What made her go from, I fucking hate this guy, to, yeah, let's go to the freaking lake together, or let's go into the woods with this dude I don't know. Harding didn't do anything to earn her interest to turn around and go see what he wants to show her. He just stared at her, after she just said she wanted nothing to do with him. This is where I think that they didn't really translate it well to a screenplay, because it's, in a book, you would know her thoughts. We don't know her thoughts here. You have to show us. I think there should have been some sort of bonding moment between there. so that they could actually, like, get to know one another, and she could slowly start to actually love him instead of hating him, because she starts off hating him for the right reasons. And he's already slowly starting to fall in love with her, so we need to see her slowly fall in love with him. You know what I mean? Like, there should have been some sort of bonding moment. My idea would have been to have them have a class project together. They could get paired up together. She obviously doesn't work with him, but he's okay with it because he kind of secretly likes her, and then they start getting past each other's differences and actually liking each other. I like the whole common denominator of they like books. That's cool. Put that together. Like, have them have to do this project on a specific book that they both like. And it's a romantic book. And they both like that book that they used. I forget. What was Pride and Prejudice? That's what it was. Have them use that. Like, it just, we need to see them bond. This is supposed to be some sort of love story, right? So you should have it, we should see them fall in love with each other. Instead, we just see them have sex with each other. Like, it's more of a relationship of lust than it is of love, is what it seems like to me, through what this movie showed. So, like, I get it, they're young and whatever, and they might mistaken lust for love, but this just, that's all it is to me, it's just lust. There's no love at all. What I was saying before with the shots where it's like they stared at each other and then the camera kind of lingered really long on each one of their stares, it also just lingered too long on different shots for really no reason. The editor decided to just keep it there even though, like, the scene was way over, and it just, you have this awkward moment of the actor still playing in character, but, like, they have no more lines to say, so they're just kind of sitting there awkwardly. Like, I don't know why they kept that in. So the other thing with the fact that we didn't see them bond in the beginning and see their love start to grow for each other, when they do finally kiss in the lake, it's like, at least for me, I didn't feel anything. Like, it just seemed like I was watching two strangers kiss. Like, I didn't fall in love with the character yet. I didn't fall in love with the relationship yet. Blank. Like, I just didn't feel anything. Like, that probably sounds heartless, but, like, they were just two strangers kissing in a lake. Like, I looked up different articles and stuff, and supposedly that was supposed to be a very sexy scene. This might also be my personal preference, but it didn't seem sexy to me. It's just two people swimming in a lake, and they kiss. And it was very drawn on out scene. It didn't seem romantic, it didn't seem sexy, it was just, we're in a lake and we kissed. Two friends in a lake, they may kiss. Then there were also a lot of useless scenes that they probably could have cut. And I don't know if they just stuck that in there to make it like a longer movie. Like, so again, with the cafe, first time we ever see the cafe, Tessa is in the cafe studying or whatever, and then Hardin, Molly, and I think Zed walk in to like get drinks or whatever, and he looks over at her and just kind of stares at her up and down, and she just looks at him and then looks down, and then they walk out, she's still staring at them, and then it cuts to her in the library reading. So obviously she moved there from the cafe, I'm guessing, unless this is a different day. I couldn't really tell. There was no transition of any sort. Steph runs in and tells her that we're going to this party and whatever, and then grabs her and takes her on to do a montage of them trying on different clothes. There really was no point to have those scenes separate. You could have had the cafe scene, that happened, and then while they left, Steph passes them saying hi to them, comes in, tells her about the party, and they go and do the montage. There really was no point of having those two things separate. And honestly, it just confuses the audience, because it's like, why were we in the cafe and then all of a sudden now we're in the library? Is it a different day? Did she decide to get up and move because she was frustrated that she saw Hardin? And I don't know why she would be frustrated because he left. It didn't make sense. Why didn't you just combine those two things and pick one location? You could have just picked the cafe, would have been the easiest, and just had Steph walk in and do the whole thing, and also was less filming. Because again, they were also in the library for like 2.5 seconds. Like, it just didn't seem worth it to have them in 2 different places at that time, but alright. Also, Steph and her girlfriend, Tristan, having sex right next to Tessa really wasn't necessary. We already know that Tessa isn't a very sexual person. It really was just not useful, and honestly, you just are kind of going into the whole stereotype of let's over-sexualize lesbians. Yeah, that isn't a good thing to do for any reason. The things with scenes in a movie is they're supposed to further the plot. If they don't further the plot in any sort of way, cut them. They don't need to be in there. Like I said, the whole cafe scene did not further the plot whatsoever. Same with the whole Steph and Tristan having sex. It didn't further the plot at all. It wasn't like something happened where Tessa like got angry at them and stormed out and then bumped into Hardin. It's not like she had a crush on Steph and that hurt her feelings. Honestly, that would have been a plot twist. I like that idea. The other thing that doesn't help the plot at all is that there are way too many musical numbers and montages for no reason. The music's great. You got a good music score, you know, like all the popular songs, fantastic. Montages look cool, nice. But when there's way too many of them in one film, it doesn't further the story. It just kind of shows lazy filming. Like lazy filmmaking. Because it's like, it seems like you didn't know how to get from point A and point B. Like, you didn't know how to go from one scene to the next. So you're like, let's just put in a fun montage and then go to the next scene. Because we don't know what to do in between. And you did it way too many times. Again, montages, and like there's that classic montage of like the girls going to the store and getting different dresses and stuff. That's a classic montage that they usually do. The trying on dress scenes happens in so many different movies. I don't remember there being that many montages within one movie. A couple of them could have stayed, but then there's like way too many. And there's also another thing they did that I thought was really odd, was the one scene where Tessa finds out that Hardin was lying to her because of the whole, like, he made a bet, pretty much, that he could get her to fall in love with him and then turn it off. The way they edited it reminded me of, like, a war scene, or, like, one of those scenes specifically where, like, whoever the characters are gets, like, hit by I think it's called a flash bomb? Flash bomb? Stun grenade. Okay. They hit by like a stun grenade or something like that, or a bomb goes off near them and it's like the ringing tone and everything's going kind of blurry and the people are kind of slowly talking. I don't know why they went that extra when this boy, she finds out the guy who she loved actually lied, or she thinks he lied, and it was a bet, and all their love is a lie, and da-da-da. Yeah, that's dramatic. And, you know, traumatic too. But I don't think it was necessary to make it almost like a war scene. You know what I mean? It just seemed a little too much. The end just seemed rushed. Towards the end, you have Tessa go home and she apologizes to her mother and Noah. Rightfully so, the main character is righting their wrongs. This is where it doesn't make sense, these apology scenes, because they were cut very short and were very awkward. The sorries didn't seem genuine. Tessa says I love you to her mother, and then the scene just kind of goes to like a wide two-shot of the mother going like this. And then it goes to her at the football field going to apologize to Noah, and it just, like, the mother didn't even say, I love you too. It just seemed rushed. Like, it seemed like there was more to that scene, and they just cut it out, probably because they didn't have enough time, you know what I mean? Like, they had a certain time duration, and they were like, alright, well, we need to cut this, even though they could have cut all the other scenes I named. You have her go to Noah, and Noah's was the worst. Like, the mother one, alright, they're mother and daughter, she apologized, alright, good enough. Noah, she did so dirty. To him, it seems like she was the love of his life, They were going to be together forever, whatever. At least that's what I got from his character, and he genuinely loved her. And she just kind of threw that all away for this other guy who barely has a personality. They sat down and they started talking, and the way he was like,
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no one who's been cheated on by your best friend, mind you, she was his best friend since they were little, just says that to someone, and it's all good. They're all good. No, this just might be me, but like, I wouldn't be able to really forgive her. Like, I might forgive her for me so I don't have to deal with her anymore, but like, I wouldn't really be like nonchalant about the whole thing. I know it's a movie. It's not supposed to be realistic. Okay, this is all a fantasy, but it again, short, awkward, and not genuine. It just didn't, none of those apologies hit right, and I don't understand why this is a thing with all these other movies coming out now on Netflix that are based on different books for, like, teenagers. The endings are so rushed, and they have apologies that the main character didn't deserve. Noah didn't need to forgive her. He honestly had every right to not forgive her. Honestly, the main character doesn't have to have a happy ending. That's another thing. Every one of these movies always tries to have a happy ending. They don't need to have a happy ending. The main character could have a bad ending, could actually get what they deserve for what they've done throughout the movie. That would make a more interesting, compelling story, because no one would ever like see it coming, because everyone's so used to happy endings. But I would like to see one of these stories actually come out to be like a bad ending, or like a not so okay ending. Okay, so the main thing that I really did not like about this is that all the characters are pretty much boring. Like, they didn't really have much to them to make you actually like them. The characters in a movie, or in any story whatsoever, should really be likable and relatable to a majority of your audience. Hardin was not likable, in my opinion, at all. This might be the fact that I'm not a teenage girl and I'm not just looking at his looks, and the fact that he's a bad boy, but he was very creepy. He creeped into Tessa's room. His friend also is in that dorm room. Makes sense. Alright. So he went into there not knowing she would be there too. But the creepy part is that, one, he wouldn't leave when she wanted to get dressed.
Can you please go out into the hall so I can get dressed?
Don't flatter yourself. I'm not looking.
Only creeps do that. No cool kid is like, oh, it doesn't matter, you can get naked in front of me. No, restraining order. Like, no, that doesn't happen, okay? And he was sitting on her bed, and reading her book. Like, so he went through her things and is laying on her bed. It's not like he was laying on his friend's bed, going through her stuff because he knows her and she'd be fine with it. Nah, let's go through the new girl stuff. Restraining order. Like, I just, so bad. Then he sits on a roof and watches her leave the party after she pretty much rejected him. Dude, leave her alone. Like, no. That's another thing that I think, not even this story, just in general. Like, if a girl rejects a guy, the guy should just keep trying. She'll eventually give in to you. No. If the girl says no, she means no. Honestly, if anybody says no, she means no. Whether you're a girl, guy, non-binary, just anybody. If you are people, if someone rejects you, you don't go after them. Don't be creepy. Restraining order. The whole relationship that they have seems like it's that whole relationship of, oh, I can fix him. I'm the only person who can fix him. He's broken. The only person who can ever fix someone is themselves. They can get help and support from other people, but they need to work on themselves and figure out themselves. You're not responsible for being their therapist at all, in any sort of way. You can be there and support and help them through, whatever they're going through, but the only one who can really help them is themselves. So I don't like this whole thing where it's like, the girl's always like, oh, I can fix him, he'll change because I'm the only one who can make him change. You can't. He needs to do it himself. You're just gonna get hurt. Tessa's really boring. Just overall, a lot of these people are cookie cutter stereotypes. So like, Hardin's a cookie cutter stereotype of a bad boy. Tessa is the cookie cutter stereotype of a good girl. Fine. But again, she's not very likable and not very relatable. At least I couldn't relate to her. And I am like the cookie cutter stereotype of a good girl. Like, a lot of the stuff she did, I wouldn't really classify it as adventurous and spontaneous. I would categorize that as naive, because she just follows whoever she deems fit at the moment. She's a very big follower. She isn't a leader. She just kind of followed Hardin, really, wherever he went. Yeah, there were times where she, like, stood up to him, but, like, she still eventually followed him again. So it just, I don't know. It was... None of these characters really brought to life in this movie, I think. And throughout the entire movie, they felt like they were strangers, which you shouldn't feel that way when you're watching a movie. You should fall in love with the characters and be able to relate to them and like them, and I didn't with any of these. I don't know if you guys did. If you guys who actually like this movie and are watching this, I doubt you'll actually get this far into the thing, because you probably hate me by now. But if you do, comment down below what you actually liked about this movie. I want to know. I honestly want to know. No judgment, no nothing, because everyone can like what they want to like and hate what they want to hate. This movie isn't causing harm to anybody. It's just an form of entertainment. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't watch it. Or go on YouTube and complain about it. That's usually the method everyone takes. Noah was kind of controlling. Like, I know he was supposed to seem as like the goody-goody boyfriend kind of thing, but he was very controlling. Like, as soon as Tessa did something that he didn't seem like he didn't approve of, he immediately, like, didn't like her. Like, that whole scene where she went to a party and he heard her and he's like, oh my god, you drink now? And then he texted her later that night saying that he was disappointed in her. I'm like, sir, you're not her father. What are you doing? And he's like a 12th grader in high school or something. So I'm like, no, what are you, what? And then it doesn't even make any sense, because then he goes to visit her and they go to a party in the woods and they both drink. Who's disappointed in who now? Like, it didn't make any sense. He's controlling and strange. Molly was literally just a bitch with no personality. Even villains have, like, some sort of interesting, like, personality to them. Like, Flair, she didn't really have anything. Like, I mixed her up with Steph, like, 1,000 times, because they had the exact same hair. Like, from the back, they were the same person. Why did they do that? that was a costuming-ish, like, I think even the, okay, so I had subtitles on, and even the subtitles got Steph and Molly mixed up. When Molly walked into the cafe and she was talking, it said it was Steph. And then I was like, wait a second, did they trade actors in the middle of the movie? But then Steph popped up again, and I'm like, oh no, it's two different people. But they look the exact same for some reason, because they have the exact same hairstyle. And I don't understand why she was really mad at Tessa in the first place. Like, I guess it seems like her and Hardin were a thing, but, like, it didn't seem like it either, because she was, like, kind of with other dudes too. So, like, she was just being a bitch to be a bitch, I guess, which there are those people. Don't get me wrong, there are those people. She was just constantly angry for no reason. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like the more interesting love story in that whole thing probably would have been Steph and her girlfriend. They were the most stable, loyal, and loving relationship in that entire movie. I want a movie on them. I want a movie on how they met, how they're doing, the trials and tribulations of them, because they were a lot more loyal than anybody else in that movie. Landon was the only wise character. I'm kind of saddened he wasn't in the movie as much, but I think it's because he literally kept himself away from the bullshit. Now, the other thing is, there were a lot of other characters. Like, I know there was Zed, who was supposed to be Zane, I think. There was the guy who was the townie. I don't remember his name. There were some other characters, but I don't really remember them because they weren't important to the story at all. Like, they didn't do anything to the story to help further the story at all. You shouldn't really have so many characters if they're not gonna further the story. So like having Zed in there, he didn't do anything to further the story. Molly and him were attached to the hip, and that was it. But she could have did all the stuff that they did alone or with Steph, and that probably would have made a more interesting thing with the fact that she didn't tell Tessa about the whole thing with Hardin. That would have made it more like, would have hurt Tessa more with the fact that this girl was trying to help her and she thought of her as a new best friend, but she didn't tell her about the secret. The reason why some people really don't like the story is the fact that they don't like the toxic relationship between Hardin and Tessa, which I'll agree, I don't like it either. I don't think the fact that it's a toxic relationship is the issue. I think the fact that they romanticized it is the issue. Because there are a lot of shows that have toxic relationships in it and people love it. Like, think of all daytime television dramas, reality TV shows. There are so many famous people out there right now for just being toxic human beings or being in toxic relationships, and people just eat that shit up. So I don't really see an issue with that, but I see the issue with the fact that they romanticized it and that it's given to a younger audience. Apparently, on this one article that I found, in an interview, Hero, who plays Hardin, promised that the film does its best to right the much criticized wrongs of the book in major and minor ways, right? So apparently during the time when they were translating the book into a screenplay, they were trying to right some of the wrongs of the book that many people criticized. The one he gave an example to in this interview, I don't know how to feel about it, because just listen, okay? It doesn't make sense to me. There was one stage direction where we were giggling and running off from someone, and Tessa trips and Hardin steadies her, he said. And the director quite rightfully said, "This is a pointless stage direction. It assumes that girls cannot run on their own." What? I'll agree that the stage direction is very pointless. Like, especially in a script when you're trying to focus on other things. Having a thing where it's like, oh, Tessa trips and he steadies her, you probably don't need that, depending on what you're trying to portray. But I feel like the director kind of like jumped to that conclusion somehow, and I don't know. If I were watching a movie and I saw that they were running away from someone, the girl tripped, but the guy steadied her and they kept going, I wouldn't immediately assume that they were trying to say that a girl can't run on her own. I don't know if that's just me, but I wouldn't come to that conclusion. I would think that the girl is clumsy and that the guy's being nice. Honestly, that would have added more personality into them, maybe. Like, again, I agree it's a pointless stage direction, but I just don't know how you got to that, the math to that conclusion. That's the only, like, at least from the article that I'll post down below. The article that I found, that's the only example Hero gives that they righted the criticized wrongs. There was a lot more I think you could have done. It just blew my mind. And on that note, this video is done because it's getting late and I can't take any more of this. Overall, I personally think this story is boring, and I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like and comment below what you like or dislike about this movie if you've seen it. I'm taking both sides. Write down below your opinion. Okay, your opinion, everyone's opinion. We do not judge here. If I see anyone judging in the comments, I am going to be very disappointed in you. Yes, I am Noah-ing you right now. I am going to be very disappointed in you. Also subscribe, because why not? It's free. If you would like me to do more of these videos, let me know. I actually like being able to watch movies and rant about them. It's relaxing and fun. Cut. That's a wrap.